Greetings, YouTube world that follows me, all like 8 subscribers that I have. It's Memorial Day. I'm hanging out at the Loves in Lost Hills, just got fuel, there's no one behind me. I got some stuff to say, even though I'm saying this now, but this video will not be released until later. It's time for a change, and a change for the better. I'm still employed, I'm still in a truck, but I came to Interstate because they only take experienced drivers. I spoke with people at truck stops, the mechanics, the TAs, Petros. That's something that's important to me, and I've done the same, somewhat, not quite enough, to determine my next employer. I talked to other drivers, both on interstate drivers on social media and at truck stops, and they seem like a really good company. They call you, they know you by name, they keep you moving. They take care of you, they get you home on time, all the perks of what's normally expected in this industry out of a smaller company, but yet with the perks of a larger company. Terminals scattered throughout where with Wi-Fi, vending machines, laundry, the biggest one for me. Because the deal laundry at a truck stop's expensive. Terminals, it's free, and our yards technically that have washer and dryer. So, however, so when I came to this company, that's exactly what it was. They were very hands-off, very, you're the driver, let us know what you need, let us know how we can be here for you, let us know. Granted, they would give us routing for loads, it would tell us where to get fuel. I quickly discovered that it wasn't really worth it for me to do things their way, because the bonus, it wasn't worth it to stick to fuel. I get paid more by Loves, as those of you guys who follow me a lot know. I'm a Loves guy. Nothing against TA Petro or Pilot Flying J. But Loves pays me more to be loyal to them. I get 1,000 gallons a month. I get 2 shower credits the rest of that a day. 2 shower credits a day the rest of that month and the next month. So during the next month, I'll be working to get my 1,000 gallons towards the next month. And then I hit that, for every dollar spent after that, I get points. Points are equivalent to cents, like 100 points equals $1. And I just bought myself a $30 Dale Earnhardt Jr. jacket, all on points. But yes, that's what the company was when I started. It was very hands-off, very relaxed. It was nice. That, just the way I'm wired, that's what I need. I learned by hands-on. That's how I got my training, my experience to drive a truck was very hands-on with a couple different trainers. 2 trainers at night, transportation, 1 trainer and 1 mentor at Schneider. And then at Interstate is have a truck. Once I passed the road test, which is my least favorite part of the hiring process. That or the physical. The physical is just never fun. But that is not the case anymore with this company. That's starting around January, February-ish. Then it got really bad in March. They started doing these, quote, safety calls, where they would be watching, how fast you've been going in different areas, and if you're going faster than the posted speed limit, they give you a phone call. I've got a phone call every week reminding me that posted speed limit on the 5, where most of our freight runs, is 55 miles an hour in California and Oregon. I'm very well aware the posted speed limit is 55. The general flow of truck traffic is somewhere between 58 and 65 miles an hour. I've been passed by trucks going 70 in those areas. I can get away with going a little bit quicker, I won't say much more, a little bit quicker than 55, considering how our trucks will only go 63. At the rate that I am paid is a difference of $230 a week if I run a full week in California and Oregon only. So that's why I have a hard time slowing down to 55. Is that $230 a week? That adds up. And if I can safely get away going quicker than 55, and I got a clock I gotta work within, I would be a fool not to get the most out of my day. So in their excuses for us to slow down, they don't bring up driver pay. They never asked me why I don't. Otherwise I would have straight up told them. But they're coming up with all these reasons that I just couldn't care less about as to why I should slow down. When they first started, they told us that interstate drivers were being targeted by the CHP, and we were getting speeding tickets at 57, 58 miles an hour. Part of me wants to say that's entirely a lie. Another part of me thinks it's a half-truth. I tend to be a police are right guy when it comes to social issues. That's usually how things play out. But at the same time, I want to see things play out before making a decision. I don't want to rush to judgment based off one person saying one thing. I have a really hard time believing that the California Highway Patrol, who prides themselves in being one of the top law enforcement agencies in the country, would discriminate against one particular trucking company over another. My internal BS meter went off big time when I heard that. At the same time, I absolutely do believe that drivers in my company got tickets for going 57 miles an hour. But I will bet you they were not going 57 miles an hour. They were going quicker. They were also probably doing something else much more worse, much more stupid, something that could have cost them their license, could have cost them their career. But the officer took pity on them and wrote them a speeding ticket for, a little slap on the wrist. Don't do it again, but it's still going to cost you. That's my bet is to the reality. And this is after talking to other truck driving friends that drive the 5 a lot like I do. Talking to drivers on social media who I don't know, but drive the 5 quite a bit. So that kind of didn't really sit well with me, that they're lying to us and trying to get us to slow down. Because all I see is that they want us to slow down. They're going to get better fuel economy in their trucks, and the drivers run fewer miles. That all I see is the company saving money. I don't see anything to help the driver out there whatsoever. Then they also go over our idle time, which is kind of whatever, because I'm going to do what I got to do to be comfortable. I made that really clear with them when I started. And then they'll also go over one of their safety points. The safety points, fine, I get it. Safety is important out here, absolutely. But when you feel the need to send us a message 4 times a week and then go over it with us on the phone, and we're talking just basic trucking things, 3 points of contact, get out and look before you back up, wear your safety vest, wear your safety shoes, use your turn signal, everything that a professional driver should do to begin with. So I've said more than once, I'm trying to decide how I want to word it right now. I'll give you guys the PG version. I'll let you use your imagination talking to my other drivers. Simply, the safety message is, do your job. Get your stuff together. I'm kind of over it. Part of why I became a truck driver is I don't do well with someone hovering on my shoulder, constantly up in my business, telling me how to do my job. Don't get me wrong. If I'm not doing it correctly, I'm doing something wrong, then by all means, correct me. But I'm the type, show me what to do, once or twice, make sure I do it right, and then scram. Let me do my work. Don't be hovering over me. I don't do well in that situation. And so there's that. Then, all up in our a little more up in our business. They want us to not idle trucks so they can save money. Cool. Shut the air conditioning off in your office. Shut a couple of computers off. Shoot, take a day off work. We drivers would appreciate that. As long as there's someone there to still issue us comm checks and give us loads. That's all we care about. Comm checks, that's how we pay for lumpers and things like that. But lumpers being the people who unload trailers, but I'm sure I'll end up talking about that at another time. The third thing, they are in the process of installing cameras. I don't want it. I'll hit on cameras in detail later, but the only thing I'd be okay with is a forward-facing camera with no audio. I would be okay with that, I think. The cameras that they are installing are forward-facing with audio. the thing there's already a guy in my company. He and I, we talk a few times a week. He's already got a camera. He's had his camera now for, I think, 2 weeks. He's received 3 phone calls, not one of which had to do with his driving. All 3 of them all had to do with his language used while yelling in his self-contained cab where no one can hear him, yelling at four-wheelers, calling them every name in the book. Every truck driver I know does that. I'm guilty. I was in denial when I was in training that swearing was the way to do it, to relieve that stress. Like, this job's stressful enough. Having four-wheelers drive like idiots that don't know any better, and some of them just don't know any better, around us adds to that stress. And there's something about yelling, using every word in the book, that makes it much easier to just go, There's something there. I can't tell you what it is, but there's something there. And my coworker has been threatened with termination and being sent to anger management as a result of his language choices. I said in a video earlier that I would rather leave a company on my terms versus having to be fired. And the fact that they would fire someone over their language, not related to anything related to their driving, but simply over their language, is a company that I do not want to work for. A company that feels the need to remind their drivers every week that the speed limit in that driver's, in my case at least, his home state is 55 miles an hour. I'm not stupid. I know. You're a cubicle monkey up in the office in Tacoma, talking to us like you know what's going on. One of the reasons for putting cameras in the trucks is so that they do know what's going on. It's like, no. And then the part, another thing is to coach us. I'm sorry, but I have a really hard time with a four-wheel driving cubicle monkey that's never driven a truck before, or in my dispatcher's case, hasn't driven a truck in I think she's been retired from driving for 4 years, I think, if I remember correctly. She and her husband they team drove for, I think, 12 years. So don't get me wrong, she knows her way around the block. She knows what we gotta put up with out here. But when it comes to small things, she's become too much of a cubicle monkey and less of a driver. So, don't get me wrong, I got a great dispatcher, great lady. There's little doubt in my mind that if I was stuck in Tacoma for whatever reason, and, they couldn't get me a loaner truck, they couldn't, whatever, there's pretty much little doubt, like, say if I was there for, a holiday or whatever, that I would at least be invited to her house for, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, whatever. Sweet lady, no complaints about her. To her credit, she's doing the job that the company is telling her to do, and that's the part where I have a problem. So, I'm trying to think. So I hit the anger management issue, the camera issue, the micromanaging issue. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't work in conditions like that. This job's stressful enough. The regular phone call, that's just, tell me how to do my job when there's no real reason to, other than I'm not going the posted speed limit, I'm going with the flow of truck traffic. That's not cool with me. That does not sit well with me one little bit. I do not need a reminder on how to do my job. Now, if there's a reason that I'd given them a reason on how to, for this, I hope I could be a little bit more humble and open to it, but that ain't right. Another thing that I'm not being, that bugs me is I had a little issue in Tacoma a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. It was actually this time out on the road. I had been hooked to the same trailer for 5 days. So it was obviously hooked to my truck, no problem. I was in our Tacoma yard, did my pre-trip, and I usually do a tug test. That's where the trailer brakes remain set and you try to go. It tests both the trailer brakes and it tests the connection, make sure you're connected. This was I can't think of a time I haven't done a tug test whenever I leave somewhere. And I didn't do it. And naturally, that one time, someone in Tacoma, I know I didn't do it, had pulled my fifth wheel. So, I mean, it should have been, I had two chances, it's, my bad, I had two chances to prevent it on my pre-trip, and I should have done a tug test. I blew it. Granted, it's late at night as far as doing the pre-trip. Yes, I have a flashlight, but when that's something I normally don't look for, especially on a trailer I've been hooked to for 5 days, oops. Not a big deal. As far as damage done, the only thing damage done to the trailer was one of the glad end handles needed to be replaced. That's something I could have done myself if I was, at a truck stop or whatever. I would have just bought my own and installed it. No big deal. And the wiring harness on my truck had gotten stretched out when the trailer fell off and was bad. So minimal damage all around, no big deal as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, and talking to other drivers who I've spoken to about it, pretty much all of them have done that, have made that exact same mistake before, so that's why I don't feel bad talking about it. It's no big deal in theory, because it's common enough that stuff like this happens. The thing I don't like is that that's my first mistake with this company when I've been here for, at the time, 12 and a half months. My first mistake really of any sort that cost them any money. And the money seems to be their number one concern. They threatened me with termination over one mistake. I'm sorry, but a company that does that, we're all humans, we all make mistakes. And this isn't a thing where it's like mistake after mistake after mistake. One mistake, 13 months with this company, and they want to threaten to terminate me over it? Ooh. So I don't know. Is that a real thing? Or is it a scare tactic? I'll explain both situations, my view on them. If it's a scare tactic, that's a very low place to go with an employee that's been out here blood, sweat, and tears for 13 months. When I first started, I stayed out for 2 weeks at a time. That lasted for the first 2 months. Since then, I've stayed out, in 3, 4, 5 week segments, which isn't the longest as far as most drivers do. Or I shouldn't say that. It's not the longest as far as what some drivers do, but it's up there. Most guys will only stay out for 2 or 3 weeks tops and then go home. Me being a single guy, it's a little easier to stay out longer, and also it's also a little easier to make more money too. So if they would really terminate me over that, that's really low, really dumb, really stupid, something to keep in mind. If it's simply just a scare tactic, there's a couple people close to me that I told about this right after it happened, said that it probably is. That's a really, really low place and thing to do to a driver, to scare them into not making a mistake again. I'm not 10, which is kind of how I feel like I'm being treated overall, so that doesn't help. Both of those things don't sound right. So pretty much between how they treated me with that accident, the termination threat. Granted, I had to do a little. It was supposed to take 45 minutes, but because I'm smart and realized that I could just skip through everything and just take the test, it took me maybe 15 minutes to do on how to do a pre-trip. That thing was super outdated, but I passed everything my first time through without a problem. Pre-trip is the only test anywhere, no matter what company I was with, even when I got my license. I've never failed a pre-trip inspection, ever, or a pre-trip related test or whatever. I've never failed the actual just driving part too, the driving straight part. The backing part, well, that's another story for another time. But 18 months into this, haven't had a backing accident, I will say that. So that's why I am 100% certain I will be leaving Interstate Distributors and going somewhere else. The somewhere else is to be determined. I got a couple of ideas, but I'm not going to say anything till it's official. I'm going home today, and then I don't know how much longer I'll be back out on the road after that. It'll either be 2 or 3 weeks. I'm for sure taking the last week of June off. There's a chance I might be taking 2 weeks in June off. So I'll only be coming out here for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then be done after this. So needless to say, when I go home today, I've been preparing. So I got a couple of bins in the back. I'm taking out all the fun stuff with me this home time and just leaving the necessaries in here. And then my next time home, I will be going home. Unless I get a phone call between now and home saying my truck is due for service. That's when they're going to put the camera in. At which point today would be my last day, Memorial Day. So we'll see what happens. I think I covered pretty much everything as to why I'm leaving. There's other companies out there, they don't do cameras. They still just, give you a load and say, have fun, there you go. They don't tell you where to get fuel, don't tell you how to get there. Some of them, one company I'm very strongly considering, they have a fuel guide, a fuel book, just of all the truck stops in the country that you can get fuel at any time. No questions asked. That's a good way to do it. Now, don't get me wrong, here at Interstate, I could ask, like I'm in Lost Hills, I could ask for fuel in Lost Hills. They would send me to the Pilot. I don't do Pilot. As long as the fuel card works anywhere, I'm coming to Love's. So, but that's another story. I kind of got rambled off, so I want to keep this as to why I'm leaving. So, I think I covered it all. The fact that there's still companies out there that trust their drivers, treats them with respect. One company, they say they pay more per mile. I've talked to a few of their drivers, and that seems to be the case. One actually put out her phone, and we compared paychecks over a period of time. Her lowest paycheck during a period of time was higher than my highest paycheck during the same period of time. So, but the only thing that bugs me about it is that they are on the larger-ish company side, so they may end up being like Interstate, just a couple years behind. But part of how they're structured, how they're set up, is that they hire experienced drivers at more experience than Interstate does, and they want to treat their drivers with respect and give them the space that we drivers want. So, but there's still a couple other companies I want to talk to, some, have a second phone call with, and third, because I don't want to be bouncing around company to company to company. If I go somewhere, I want to go somewhere I know where I'm going to be for a while. So, anyway, that's it, guys. Hope everything's all well with you. Hope you guys all had a good Memorial Day, and there might be a video or two before you see this one. Just my company needs to know first that I'll be leaving. I feel like I owe it to them. Let them know how I feel before it's released, on YouTube. So anyway, that's it, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.